In this video, we're looking at this SkyRC 10th scale brushless censored combo set. $70. Can a $70 brushless ESC and motor be good for RC drifting? We're going to get this out of the box. We're going to install it in this DC-10 drift car and give it a full test. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Troy. This is RoadsideRC. You'll tend to find me bashing or crawling or drifting or racing, plus doing product review videos and how-tos. Let's get started by getting this combo out of the box and seeing what's in there. We have instruction manual, some stickers, and we have the little programming card, which will be very interesting to use. I haven't used this style before. We have the ESC itself, capacitor soldered onto it already, a wire plug lead for the receiver. We have unsoldered ends here that go to the battery, so we're going to have to solder on whatever lead we want there. 3 wires that go to the motor with already bullets attached to them, which is very nice. ESC itself looks pretty standard. Power button, little port here for programming, and a little port here for the fan, so that is nice. We have a sensor wire, which is awesome because otherwise I always forget to buy one. Lead for the program card, fan, and screws to attach the fan, which is awesome. And then censored motor. So it is. I did go with the 10.5 turn. It is non-adjustable timing on the can itself, but you can adjust timing in the program card. 10.5 turn already has the leads soldered on here as well, so you don't have to worry about that. You can just plug them in. Installation on the drift car itself is pretty straightforward. We have an ESC plate here in the back. We have a motor to mount right here in the middle. The motor plate, pretty simple. You do pay attention to your wires. I did plug the sensor wire here into the side of the ESC. I need it to have enough room to come over here and get to the motor. It's got to come to this port on the back side here, so I want to make sure about that. I want to make sure that these wires have enough room to get over and get to the motor. These have enough to get to the battery, and that is going to be tight. Depending on how you clock this on here, maybe enough room. Got to mount this capacitor somewhere. I've had good luck before with just mounting capacitors straight to the side of the ESC, but this one has a little cutout there, so it's not going to fit on that side very well. So you'll just double-sided tape. The kit doesn't come with any, so you'll just have to use some that you have laying around. ESC mounts up, like I said, quite easily there. Sensor wire came over and is plugged into the motor there. The 3 wires, as you plug them from the ESC to the motor, the direction, the orientation there very much matters. So you can see on the ESC, ABC on the ESC, blue wire being A, on the motor as well, ABC. They make it easy for you. Blue goes to blue, yellow to yellow, orange to orange. But this is very important. In a censored motor, you can't screw up that order. In a non-censored motor, you can actually change these around to make it run backwards and all that. But that will confuse it with the sensor wire and potentially damage your ESC. You do have the ability, even in this super budget ESC combo here, you have the ability to reverse motor rotation if you need to in the program card, not by swapping the wires. So that's very important. I used the factory provided hardware to mount the motor, and just picked up a random pinion gear that I had in my spare parts bin in order to get everything started. Since drift cars can generate some heat, especially depending on what kind of timing you're running, I do want to run this fan that does come with it. No, it doesn't look like there is actually a place to mount the fan, but it's actually, these screws will take thread into this heatsink here, and you're going to want to place it to where the cowl head is up. It shows rotation direction, and that means it'll be blowing down on the ESC. You'll want to also make sure that this wire is kind of conveniently located so that wherever you mount it, it's long enough to get to that little access port that's right there on the side for power. Now, whenever you have a new ESC, you need to calibrate it to the controller. So we're going to hold this in until we get a long beep. Now, solid beeps, we're going to leave it in neutral. Hit it one more time. Full throttle, hit it again. Reverse, and then let go. It's going to reinitialize, and then we should have, we have throttle. We have reverse, that is awesome. And we do have brake and then reverse. Ooh, it's got a little turbo-y kind of thing. Hope we can tune that, because that's a big delay to it. All right, so speaking of tuning, that's what we need to do next. What we have done is use that included wire to connect between the card and the ESC itself. We're going to now fire it up, and it's going to give us all of the current settings. In the manual, it also shows you what the different options are and what the factory default settings are. In order to change anything, we click here. Okay, and that's taking us through all the different options. Let's get back up to the top. Let's go to the second one. Let's say I want to increase that. I'm going to hold it, and then it jumps over. So now my auto voltage cutoff is going to be at 3.3 volts per cell. Not sad about that whatsoever. Leaving it at cutoff voltage as auto, moving that up to 3.3. Now I typically don't like drag brakes, so I'm going to hold this one until it gets all the way back around to 0, because I do not like drag brakes. The brake strength being all the way up here at the higher end, completely fine with me. Punch is fine, deadband so far is fine. Reverse type, again, we've already found that I do have brake and then reverse, so I'm completely happy with that piece. But I do want to come all the way down here to motor timing, and we want to crank some motor timing into it. Let's go all the way up to 30 degrees. What the heck? See, did you get me there? There we go. It's really all that we can do at this point. There's no other programming options that we have. So we're going to turn the ESC off, and it's going to have saved all those in there. And now we can give it a test drive. That's interesting. So immediately what I notice is that normal throttle control feels quite nice actually. So, you know, car is easily placeable, throttle is easy to modulate, no issues with that. And if I want a lot of throttle, it's just not quite there. Some of that's that gear that I put on there, so maybe a little bit smaller than ideal. But you can hear it, it'll kick turbo basically. Now, there's no programming of that at all in that ESC, and it's really too bad, because it's got a huge delay in it. So it hits a lot of the power that you just need to be able for that to hit faster. I want it when I hit that, I want it to just absolutely throw that turbo there. Instead, it doesn't. Let's try that punch setting. The only thing I can think of is there's a punch setting in that ESC. Let's try that and see if it fixes that. So again, here in the program card, we're going to jump down to punch strength. It's at 10. And we're just going to see what happens if we bring it up to 30. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth. I'm just going to nail it. Ah, it's still there. If I come around here and I hit full throttle, yeah, that time delay between when I actually hit it and it hitting turbo, that's rough. So we have as much timing in the motor as it'll allow for the program card, because it's not physically adjustable on the motor. And we have as much punch in it as it'll allow, and it's completely driftable. So if you were just looking for an absolute budget way of getting into drifting, I don't think it gets much cheaper than this. All right, let's talk about who is the person who's going to be buying this. If you think about like the dedicated hardcore drift person, they are going to have already upgraded to something with much more power and much more tunability than this. So we are definitely not talking about the person who's trying to go out and win the local drift comp is going to be buying this system. It's most likely going to be somebody who's either pinching pennies or is starting out in the hobby. And so this $70 setup, how does it compare? What are its direct competitors? I think the most obvious head-to-head direct competitor with this would be the Hobbywing 10BL 120 setup. So that ESC I think is around, I think it's right at about $50, and then you can get a couple cheaper 13.5 turn or 10.5 turn motors that are also about that $50. So it's about 100. So this setup is legitimately 30%, $30 cheaper than those are. Is it worth it? I would say it's probably worth it to spend that extra $30. That latest edition of the Hobbywing 10BL 120, it actually has turbo and boost distinctly available for tuning within the program card. That is something that this does not have. And then those motors that you can get have adjustable end bell timing, so you can more discreetly control the timing in that way as well. So I think it's probably worth it. But if you are absolute pinching every penny possible, then this does the job. It really does. It's censored. It has good throttle control. The lag and the turbo boost might get you into trouble in certain situations, but honestly, I don't really think it's going to be that big a deal. So you're just going to end up playing as if you just don't have turbo in any form or fashion. You're going to hit full throttle occasionally, but you're probably not going to be in it long enough to trigger it. So I think it works. And it is probably the cheapest way that you can get a censored setup in your RC drift car. So that is really good. I'm going to tune some more on this, play with this a little bit more, but so far I think I've capped with what it's going to do. If you are interested in any of these other ESCs, I've tested all of them, run all of them, have videos on all of them as I've tested them, and they will be in my Drift Tech playlist. Will be popping up over here to your right. So I hope you find those useful. Go in there, click in there, find one of those videos. If you have any questions or comments about anything I did in this video, please put them down below, and I'll try to answer them. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.